Okay guys, today we're looking at tip number 3, which is being specific with your argument. Now I know if you've done writing for me, you know what I mean by this, but I will talk more about this now. So the first thing you want to do in the debate is you want to use fact-based arguments. You do not want to be using arguments that are based on conjecture, maybe guessing. You don't want to base arguments on your personal experience, especially, right? One person's experience means nothing unless it's, Albert Einstein or, Oppenheimer, someone, famous who had an experience, you know what I mean? You don't want to be too subjective. Okay, so fact-based arguments means you want to look at things that have happened. You want to look at scientific statistics. You want to look at things that people cannot just say, that's someone's experience, that is, it's not true. If it's easily argued or rebutted, then it's not what you want. It's not what you want to use. Now, a lot of people, we're going to say, well, there are always two sides to the story, and this is the core of debate, right? Where people are arguing this and they're arguing that, and you're able to argue against other people's arguments because they're not 100% fact. So as for main points and developing ideas, of course, sometimes these will be rebuttable. However, the way you support those ideas should be fact-based. You want to use facts to support your ideas, which could be argued against. That's the core of debate. So when you do that, stay away, like I said, from personal examples or personal anecdotes. You don't want to use any guesswork. You don't want to say things like "I guess" and all that. And stick with facts as much as possible. Number 2, do not generalize too much. Of course, generalizing is something we must do from time to time. In the case when we say, many people or some people, or, when you're talking about how people generally act, there are times when this is acceptable. However, or if you're looking at the past, if you're looking at things that have happened throughout history, for example, and it seems to be that trend that always occurs. Like if you look at, for example, the ice ages through time, right? How the ice ages, came up sort of in a pattern, and how we can see that they happen in certain intervals. Things like that, when you can say, ice ages happen, throughout history at set times, in set periods generally. So in generalizing in that case is acceptable, but when you're going to say, everyone loves smartphones, what, right? So so you don't want to generalize in a way that is either weak, silly, or generally just kind of pointless. If you go back to number 1, fact-based arguments, if you can use facts instead of generalizations, you need to do that. You need to not focus on things that people can say, no, it's not true because we think this is true. And then you're just at a stalemate, right? When one generalization is able to block another generalization, it just means that nobody's winning. So use facts and stay away from generalizations when you can. The third point is to never leave a point unexplained. So basically, if you've written essays in our class, you know that your developing points must be explained, and some people are really good at this and some people are really not good at this. And the reason why we want to develop our developing points with a lot of explanations is because it makes your argument, every time you add something, it makes your argument that much stronger, right? It's like adding a layer of protection to your argument and to really build it up to be strong. So you can think of it kind of like building a house where you have foundation, and then you have walls and insulation, then you have drywall, and it just keeps going. But anyway, there are many analogies we could use here, but the fact is, if you keep building on something, it gets stronger, and it's harder to destroy or to rebut, in this case, an argument. So you want to explain your points fully. So a good example of this would be if you said, and we should allow adoption of foreign children because those children can have better lives in our country. Finished, right? Obviously, people are going to be looking at you thinking, well, why would their lives be better in your country? You may think it's obvious. You may think, oh, it's obvious that, kids that come from poor countries will come here and have a better life in Korea because Korea is a great place to live, and we have lots of food, and everyone has a house, and there's no homeless people, and it's really nice. You need to explain those things. You can't just say this is how it is, because people will look at you and think, why? Why have you not explained why this is true? Explain, 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 right? Until you believe that your argument is foolproof, until you believe that someone cannot just knock it down and say this is just a big generalization. They haven't explained it at all, but we think this is true. We think children, for example, children will not do well in Korea because there's a lot of racism, or they won't do well in Korea because their unemployment is increasing, right? So you can look at how your argument would completely be destroyed by one simple sentence from the other team. So expand, 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 and explain your ideas. Your main points are explained by your developing points, and your developing points are explained by your ideas. These ideas are key, and you must use them effectively in your argument. So tip number 3 is being specific and building a good argument with explanations and not over generalizing. That's the key. So if you can do this, you're going to build a good argument, and you'll have a really good chance of winning the debate.